Last night on the 14th anniversary of Game 6 of the Cardinals World Series, did we see possibly the greatest World Series game ever in Game 3 between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays? We'll discuss on today's Card Central 365. Joe Roderick, Brenden Schaeffer with you here. Brenden, I'll ask you this. How many of those 18 innings did you stay up for yesterday?
I actually made it for all of them. In the top of the 16th, my son woke up crying upstairs in his room, so I had to go calm him down. I missed a couple of batters, but then left his bedroom, and my wife's like, "Why are you still awake?" And I said, "It's the 16th bleeping inning," and then I went back downstairs. I was locked in for all of it, man. It was very fun to follow. I was kind of thinking, I couldn't stop thinking about Joe Buck because he called the Monday night game with the Chiefs and Commanders in Kansas City. I'm like, that guy's probably in bed long before, like he's probably home and in bed long before that baseball game ends. And of course, the meme tweet of him, Joe Buck says as the sun rises in the top of the 47th inning or whatever the meme is. I was like, man, if Joe Buck would tweet right now, that would complete everything I need out of this baseball game. We didn't get that, I don't think, but we did get a fun one last night in Game 3.
Yeah, what was it, 5-5 after the seventh, eighth inning, and then you pretty much go about 10 innings without anything happening in the game. And it's one of those where you kind of you just wait and you wait and you wait for a hero to come your way in the game. And once again, Freddie Freeman is that guy for the Dodgers who walks it off, and his I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen the stat. Is he the first ever to have 2 walk-off home runs in World Series history?
I don't know the answer to that, but it's got to be rare company, if not.
I was going to say, I mean, yeah, the list of walk-off home runs in World Series history isn't that big of one just for a regular game. So to do it twice, Freddie Freeman is that guy. I really, really liked seeing the. By the way, I went to bed after the 8th inning. The 8th inning is when I tapped out, and I get up. I'll get up at like 5 a.m. and the first thing I did was watch the full game recap. I think I woke up at one point at like 3, looked at my phone, saw the alerts that said 18. I had to do a triple check of it.
Oh no!
Yeah. The Cardinals aren't in it. I had nothing invested in it. It's one of those where I'll wake up and I'll see it in the morning for that. Outside of you and maybe one other person, I wouldn't have had anybody to text about the game anyway either. So,
oh man, it was a unique experience. I got until about the 16th inning before I was like, okay, it might be safe to get some snacks out. Like we could be here a while. That's because every inning prior to that, you would think, okay, the Dodgers stopped the Blue Jays, so now they're going to score, right? And every time Freddie Freeman or somebody like that would bat, you're like, oh, it kind of feels like a home run. And there were a couple that were hit to the warning track. Freeman had one. Will Smith had one that I still don't understand how it wasn't a home run, because it just, everything about it, the sound, the feel, the look, the vibe that's a walk-off home run. And I don't even remember what inning it was, but when it died at the warning track, I just started laughing. I was like, this game is out of control. You had good defensive plays, but you mentioned it, Freddie Freeman. It felt like it had to be somebody like him. Shohei Ohtani, this was a crazy part to me. Shohei Ohtani got on base 9 times last night, tied a major league record. Obviously, a lot of those were intentional walks, but how could you possibly pitch to him in extra innings? There was a moment where they unintentionally walked him, didn't throw anything in the strike zone on the final walk that tied the record. But I was thinking, there's no way I would pitch to this guy. Maybe if the bases are loaded. Like, maybe if the bases are loaded, you would pitch to him, which obviously if you walked in, the game would be over. But that just serves to show, like, exactly how terrified I would be of that guy. He gets on base 9 times. It's not his best game of the last 2 weeks, and he got on base 9 times. So that's just bonkers. He's pitching tonight. It was, I don't know about the greatest World Series game ever, Joe, but I think it's at least got to be in the conversation because it had a little bit of everything.
I would, before that, before we get into comparing it to other games, I don't know if you saw last night Dave Roberts giving his post-game speech to everybody in the locker room. And as it was a funny moment as he sat there and he said, guys, we play again later today. and the camera kind of shifts over to Shohei,
I did see
who,
this. Yeah.
again, like I would expect something like this out of my 12-year-olds
Yeah.
when I say something like, hey guys, we have another game, and watch one of them mime like, that he's getting ready to wind up and pitch.
Yeah.
It's just like he is a child out there. All of they're just children playing this game. And then he says it again. He goes, guys, we play later today, and our starting pitcher got on base 9 times today.
Yeah, one of the teammates mentioned that. That was a voice from the background that says, yeah, our pitcher was on base 9 times today. He's like, yeah, huh? I think Dodgers by 100 tonight, by the way. Like, I think the Blue Jays, as we debate, whether it's the greatest World Series game, I think the context of like how the series ends up probably plays into that. For it only being game 3, right? It's still pretty early in the series. I feel like the Blue Jays had to win that game. If they had, well, at least we're getting baseball on Halloween at a minimum, because that would be the scheduled night Friday for game 6. With the Dodgers winning it, I don't know that we're getting baseball on Halloween. I think the Dodgers might steamroll the rest of this series after last night. With Shohei on the mound tonight, I'm very eager to tune in and see what's in store. But I think that's going to end up playing out with like the context. Okay, the Dodgers win this game. The Dodgers are the team that everybody expected coming in would win this World Series. How it plays out, I think, will color a little bit of how we look back on last night in terms of like the pantheon of great games.
Before we dive into our topic for today, quickly, you can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live on December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. So last night, 6-5 final score of game 3. Dodgers take it over the Blue Jays in 18 innings. Was it the greatest World Series game of all time? I said at the beginning of the show, it was the 14th anniversary of game 6 of the World Series between the Cardinals and the Rangers, the David Freese game. There are some other ones in the past 25 years, past 40 years, our lifetimes, Brenden, that we could go back and we can look at, probably even prior to that too, that some of our older viewers and listeners could look at and debate as well. I will start the discussion though with this. If we are looking at just the greatest World Series game of all time, I do not put game 6 of the World Series in that category. The ending and the drama surrounding game 6 of the 2011 World Series made it memorable in St. Louis. But if you remember, Brenden, innings 1 through 8 of that were not a great game. It was a sloppy game with an amazing ending.
Wait a second. I don't think greatest necessarily has to mean the most crisply played game, though. I mean, there were errors in last night's game. I think the drama of those early innings going the way that they did contribute to the case being made for game 6 of 2011. Like, just because there was sloppiness doesn't mean it wasn't a great game. Like, great to me is gonna mean some drama. It's gonna mean some chaos. It's gonna mean some wild moments that you look back on and go, oh yeah, remember that? I mean, oh my gosh, so many things happened that we almost forgot about this. I don't necessarily dock game 6 because there was David Freese dropping a pop fly at third base in the 5th inning or whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that negates the greatness of the game, even though like it maybe the quality of it, if we were grading it on just how well played it was. But I think some of the chaos aspects of it actually contribute to its greatness.
I can see why you will. I think if we're just talking encompassing overall game of that, and I guess in a way, like that's where when we were talking about it, you threw out the idea of 2016 game 7 in 2016 Cubs and Indians. In that, I think if you look at the all-encompassing game for that, like leadoff home run in that game, you have the rain delay, you have one of the greatest closers that we have seen blow a save in that game. And you look at I'll even look at somebody, the final play of the game, how bang bang of a final play that was, and the drama surrounding that, to where you kind of give that put that kind of one up on the on game 6 in 2011.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I still feel like if we went back through that 2011 game, we could think of some things that elements of it that would still classify it as such. But then it's also, okay, for game 6, Cardinals obviously had to win that to extend the series and set up the decisive game 7, which happened. The Cubs and Indians, that it's hard to beat the drama of a game 7 on that scale, especially with the curse and everything with the Cubs trying to win their first in a good long while. And so, like, you're right when it comes to the perspective. Okay, if you're a Cubs fan, obviously nothing's ever going to top that one. If you're a Cardinals fan, nothing's ever going to top game 6, 2011. As I look at last night, obviously I can do so from being a completely neutral observer. When the Cubs one happened, I was probably going, I don't really know if I want to see the Cubs win a World Series, versus the Cardinals one. I was a senior in high school and absolutely rooting for the Cardinals. Last night, I was like, I'd like to see the Blue Jays win because I think it would be fun. But at this point, I'm just like waiting for the moment of what's it going to look like when this game ends. And as a neutral observer, kind of not necessarily wanting the Dodgers to steamroll the rest of the series, I was kind of like, if the Dodgers win it, is it less of a compelling story? But by the time you get to 18 innings and the couple of close shaves that there were, and the defensive plays made, and the numerous times that the Blue Jays had to dodge traffic by putting Shohei on base every single time, like there was a lot that was compelling about that. But I guess it doesn't necessarily hold up to the drama factor, because nothing really happened after what did you say, the 7th or 8th inning, until the Freddie Freeman home run. There's no runs scored at all. I do look at the pitchers, though. Like, that's a huge storyline to me. It's just a guy like Will Klein, who, probably nobody really knew who that was before last night, having multiple. I mean, to end his second to last inning, he caught a comebacker that was right to his head. I'm like, that's unbelievable. And I'm sure they're not going to pitch him another inning. And then they do. And he's even more pumped up going off the mound the next time. Like, those storylines, I think, are what adds a little bit of the drama of, like, oh, seriously, Yamamoto is warming up? Like, he was going to pitch the next inning. Like, those aspects of it definitely hype up last night's game, even though it happens earlier in the series. Even with a loss, the Dodgers might have still won this series in 6 games. There was a lot that was compelling from a pitching standpoint about that. Dave Roberts telling the broadcast that he's considering a position player. I'm like, absolutely not. There is no realm in which Dave Roberts was going to throw a position player last night. He wasn't going to beg Yamamoto or DH. Yeah. Technically, I'm going to throw a position player. It's Ohtani. Get out there. I mean, seeing the interpreter come to Dave Roberts, and I guess it was Tom Verducci giving the update, and he says it's not Ohtani they're talking about. Yamamoto has volunteered his tribute, and he's getting loose. And then they show him go into the bullpen. I mean, that was high drama. I kind of wanted to see one more inning because of that. But, like, even the fact that he didn't pitch, the fact that he was willing to, right, it all adds to it. So I was all about it last night. I thought it was a heck of a fun game. I thought that the Chiefs and Commanders should have had the decency to play a second game, just run it back so we could watch something on our other screen while the baseball game was going on. That would have made it a little bit more compelling.
It was a sports equinox, though, Brendan. I mean, you had all kinds of sports to choose. There was no West Coast NBA that you could throw on at that point.
Not by 2 a.m. in Central Time, man. I think it was all over by that point. But the baseball, so like that does give this some legs. I don't know that it's going to go down in history as topping Game 6 in 2011. Game 7 in 2016. I'm sure, again, there are some others that we could throw out there. But
I would say, this is one. It's before the first World Series I can remember watching was 1993. I remember watching Joe Carter's walk-off home run. I can remember watching that as a kid. But when you go back and I'm sure I know Randy, I'm sure has memories, and we'll sit there and just kind of rail off a bunch on his show later today.
Yeah.
But if you go back and you look at the box score for Game 7 of 1991 between the Twins and the Braves,
Yeah.
And you see what John Smoltz did in that game. You look at Jack Morris going 10 innings of shutout baseball in that game to end 1-0 in 10 innings in a game 7 after the way game 6 ended of that series as well. I don't know if drama would ever have been at a higher point than going 0 after 0 after 0
Sure.
in a game like that. It's one that you and I would have no memories of, but
Right.
I'm sure
I
there are
wasn't here.
viewers out there that could sit there and agree with, remembering watching that in real time.
Yeah, I just think with some runs scored, some chaos, it's a different type of chaos that you can invite. Defensive plays, base running, out, there was a lot of aspects to some of these other games, but it's the same reason we look back on the NLDS with Chris Carpenter, right, against the Phillies. We look back on that game 5 because it was that well pitched game with everything on the line, at least in the context of that series. So yeah, that's another one that would come up, and there's others that would come up from before my time and your time as well. But and part of the reason, if you were going to talk down about it last night, the Blue Jays lineup changes made it to where they just didn't have very much punch left in their lineup. Like it felt in the 13th or 14th inning like these guys, I don't know how they're going to score. Right? If they're careful with Vladdy Jr., I don't know how they're going to score. Springer leaves the game injured. Bo Bichette can't run. Like they had to make some changes to where they didn't have their A squad out there anymore when it came to their 1 through 9. And the Dodgers just had too many elite hitters that it just seemed like eventually somebody was going to pop one. So I guess last night, as incredible as it wasn't unpredictable. Like it was rather predictable that a Will Smith or a Freddie Freeman or a Mookie Betts was gonna nuke one, and that was gonna be eventually how the night came to an end. But it was still really cool to see it play out.
If there's games we're forgetting, leave your comments in the comments section. Let us know what games from World Series past we might be missing out on as one of the greatest World Series games of last night, or is it what we witnessed last night in Game 3 in Dodger Stadium? Until then, we are brought to you each and every day here on Card Central 365 by our friends over at DraftKings. The crown is yours. He's Brenden Schaeffer. I'm Joe Roderick. We'll talk to you tomorrow.